What's up, everybody? It's Matt here, and today I'm going to be bringing you the Blade Wing deck profile. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this deck profile for me to show it, and some of you are eager to see what I got running. And this deck is taking me a while to complete because these cards aren't exactly hard to get a hold of, or easy to get a hold of, I should say. They're pretty pricey, but without further ado, let's go over the deck and I'll explain some combos and the play style and just some thoughts on it, and hopefully help you guys out if you want to run the deck yourself. So for my starter, I'll start with grade 0's first starter. I'll run Greedy Hand. Pretty much you Forerunner, you activate him, Counterblast 1 on rear guard, and you can put him into the soul, and then you search out a grade 2 or less dark irregular and put it into your soul and shuffle your deck. So if you don't know about this deck already, it's very focused on the soul, and the win condition for this deck is challenging because you have to build the soul very fast in this deck. Luckily, Blade Wings are able to soul charge 5 off the strides, which I'll explain in a minute. So you can get this deck running pretty quick. It's all on what you draw. So that's my starter, Greedy Hand. I'll go ahead and show you the triggers. 4 heals, essential. I run 1 Nightmare Land and then 3 Hell's Trick, just because that's just what I want to run. I'll explain why the triggers are expendable and why soul charging them really isn't a problem in this deck in a moment. 4 One-Eyed Succubus, because she's just there. She looks cool. I don't run Scarlet Vampire in this deck, so her skill is irrelevant, but she's just there. 1 Dark Knight Nightmare Land. His skill is you put him into the soul and choose one of your dark irregulars, and it gets +3. Kind of irrelevant, but again, builds soul. I run, I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I run 6 stands because this deck lacks a little bit of offense, and late game stands pretty much win you the game. Now, I run 3 of the bear. Where Bamar sold at, just stand, no skill. But Monochrome of Nightmare, the cat, this card is very important after your first stride, because once you're at GB1 and he's on, you call him in the rear, you hold him in your hand as long as you can, unless you have to guard with him. You call him in the rear, and then you use a skill, put him on top of your deck, shuffle your deck, and soul charge 1. And if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, you only flip a damage. And then, if you have 10 or more, you draw a card. And this is a very important card because it allows you to recycle a trigger, unflip a damage, and draw a card, all while soul charging still. And there's a pretty good chance you can draw back into it late game. So you're getting a free soul charge, you're unflipping a damage, and you're drawing a card to replace it. So very important card. It's there. It's pretty cool to have a card that just recycles itself like that from the hand back into your deck. And then, you're able to hit it again later in the game. All right, grade 1s. Let me get it. I run 3 of Blade Wing Rodbus. Pretty much her skill is you just check the top 3. Choose 2 Blade Wing and add 1 in your hand. Well, you reveal them, add 1 in your hand, put 1 in the soul, and then put the rest of the cards you revealed in the drop zone. It helps maintain your consistency because if you don't start with Blade Wing Sullivan, which is the grade 3 I'll show off in a minute, the game's going to be kind of rough for you because you're not going to have much you can do to protect yourself. So she kind of helps search out those cards and also helps you get another Blade Wing in the soul, which is good because it just maintains the consistency. And she's 7K, so it's pretty good numbers. 4 Stride Fodder, because, yeah, this deck, for the first couple of turns, for the first 3, once you hit grade 3, you want to be able to stride like 3 or 4 times, like at least twice. You want to stride twice and not pay too heavy of a cost. You just drop her and then stride and maintain your hand. And sending anything to the drop zone in this deck is irrelevant because you can recycle. I'll explain that in a moment as well. All right, I'll go over the perfect guards and explain my perfect guard setup. All right. Whoops. Okay. So, perfect guards. 4. I run 2 quintet walls because, yeah, recycling, throwing things away to your drop zone from the top of your deck in this, with this play style isn't really a bad thing because you can just recycle it right back. Her skill is Counterblast 1, call it top 5, and call it in the guard. And then if you have a Blade Wing Vanguard, you can, if you called any Blade Wing, any grade 3 Blade Wings, you can put them into your soul. The other 2 perfect guards I run, 1, March Rabbit and Nightmare because A, guard from deck, B, just perfect guard, and it's the O1, looks good. But mainly because it's a guard from deck, so if you hit it off a quintet wall, you can just, it's an automatic no hit. And then one of the new Succubus of Avarice, because early in the game, how I play this deck is you want to have a perfect guard in your hand pretty much the entire game, because you got to stay alive long enough to set up your Vanguard, set up your soul, and get a field. And with this deck, the first couple strides can be rough, so your opponent may rush you, they may just spam grade 2s or grade 3s, and having a perfect guard in your hand early in the game helps. But once you hit GB1, this is where these 2 come into play, because you counterblast, put him into the soul, put her in the soul, and then her skill is when you're at GB1 and you've hit darkness, which when you put a card into your soul during your turn, that's an auto darkness. You can choose one of your grade 1 or less rear guards, retire it, and you add this card back to your hand. So once if you want, depending on how the game's going, and you hit your first stride, you soul charge whatever cards you need to activate. Well, you don't need to soul charge. You can counterblast, throw them in the soul. Darkness is active. Search her out, put her into the soul, and then call something like a trigger, kill it, add this back to your hand, and that's a free perfect guard right there off of that. So then you already have a good defense, so that way you can stay in the game and keep going late in the game. 3-dimension creeper, standard. I mean, I would run 4, but I don't like seeing too much of him. I like him to be in the soul, so I'm not going to play him. I play him as a rear guard if I have to, but I don't like really playing rear guards with this deck. Mainly just grade 2s, and then I'll call 1 or 2 of him. But his skill is when he's in the soul, you can activate it from the soul. You put him into the drop zone, soul charge 2, so it's a free trade out. He's in the soul, you bounce him out, soul charge 2, so it's a +1. That's all the grade 1s. All right, now on the grade 3s. And these are important. So 1 Blade Wing Reggie, or Reggie, however you want to say it. His skill is continuous Vanguard Circle. If the number of Dark Irregulars in your soul is 15 or more, he gets +2 crit. This is very important in combo with Wings of Recurrence, because if he's on the Vanguard Circle and you've got 15 in the soul, you can attack with him, and if it doesn't hit, Blade Wing, Wings of Recurrence, his skill is if an attack doesn't hit, if your Vanguard with Blade Wing in this card name did not hit, you can Counterblast 1 and drop 3 from your hand, ride him a stand, and attack again. But hitting your opponent for 3 crit, it's only 10k, so more than likely they're going to guard it. So what you can do is just poke for 10k, twin drive, and then if it doesn't hit, okay, Counterblast, drop 3, ride him a stand, and his skill, you Soul Blast 15, he gains +15k and 2 crit. Same thing. Hit him just for even higher numbers on the second attack. But his second skill is when you place it on Vanguard Circle, you choose one of your Dark Irregular rear guards, search your deck for up to 3 cards with the same name, and add it to your soul. So you just pretty much, previous turn, you're at grade 2, call a Dimension Creeper, and when you ride Reggie, you target Dimension Creeper, add 2 more into your soul. Just build your soul even further. Run 1 of him, 3 Wings of Recurrence, because I mean, having a Blade Wing on the soul or on the Vanguard Circle, and having him in the soul just is generally what you want to have at all times. He's not your main Vanguard in this deck though, so that's why I only run 3. And then here is the MVP of this deck. This is your boss card, Blade Wing Sullivan. I run 4, and you want to see him as quickly as possible. He needs to basically be in your starting hand. His skill is, this guy also helps you stay in the game. So his skill is, as the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, this unit gets continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your Guardians get +10k, including your grade 3s. So you can call grade 3s to guard. and they automatically get plus 10k. And then at the end of the battle that this unit was attacked, you Soul Blast too. So basically, if you're soul charging triggers, it's okay, as long as you can make it through to get 15 cards in the soul and have him on the Vanguard circle, and you have, like, let's say 20 cards on the soul and like maybe 5 of them are triggers, you can Soul Blast straight triggers and into the drop zone. And I'll explain why that's important, because this deck has a lot of recycle in it. He also has the same skill as the other Blade Wing Reggie. When you put him on Vanguard circle, he can search, you target a rear guard, search out up to 3 copies. So I only run 7, I believe. No, I run 8 grade 3s. That's just how I like it. I like, because you want to see a grade 3 to start, and grade 2s. So this deck's grade 2 game isn't really too strong, but it's not exactly weak. Mainly all the cards in this deck are utility. They build your soul and pretty much go from there. Build the soul and draw cards. So to start, I run 4 of Blade Wing Sykes. His skill is, when you call him to rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Blade Wing in its card name, you soul charge 1. And then he has the same skill as Dimension Creeper. When he's in the soul, you bounce him out, soul charge 2. I run 4 of him because you need to have a Blade Wing on the Vanguard circle and just consistency. Okay, moving on. 2 of Doppelvampire. His skill is GB1 Darkness. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, this unit gets plus 5k until the end of that battle. And if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, until the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call grade 0 to guard. So he's just a pressure. I only run 2 because I don't really want to see a bunch of him in my hand early in the game, because I usually try to get him out late game after I have 15 in the soul. 1 Flirtatious Succubus, just call, soul charge, early game call. 4 Flying Librarian. Now she's also utility, and I run 4 of her because she's very good at setting up. You can get 15 cards in the soul first turn off of her and your strides. So her skill is GB1 Counterblast 1. When this unit is placed on rear guard, you pay the cost. If you do, soul charge 2. Then if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, draw a card. Then if the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, choose a card from your damage zone, turn it face up. So it's a no cost, free, plus 2 in the soul. So if you have 10 or more cards in the soul, you just call it, Counterblast, soul charge 2, draw, and then unflip the damage you just used to use her skill. So it's pretty much no cost and a free plus 2, plus 3, because you soul charge 2 and then draw a card. Okay, on to the stride deck. So first up, 4 Wings of Annihilation, Blade Wing T-Bold, and this dude is pretty much your first turn setup card. He also recycles your deck, and once you have 15 in the soul, he's a plus 10k to all your rear guards in the front row. So this dude's skill is, when this unit is placed on the Vanguard circle, it's an auto skill. If you have a heart card with Blade Wing and its card name, you return all the cards from your drop zone to your deck, and then shuffle your deck. Then, if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, until the end of turn, this unit gets continuous Vanguard circle. All of your rear guards in the front row get plus 10k. And if not, soul charge 5. So pretty much use him to soul charge 5. And if you have 2 of these in your hand, or even just 1, you stride. After you soul charge 5, call her, Counterblast, soul charge 2, and then just, if you're at 6 or more, draw, and then unflip the damage if you're at 10 or more, and then you just do a repeat. Just do the same thing over and over, and once you get 15 in the soul and you get set up, then you just wait, and then move on to your next stride. But he's pretty much your setup. I run 4 of him because it doesn't, you don't want to deck yourself out with this deck. You can deck yourself out really quick because you're gonna soul charge a lot. So 4 of him because he's your recycler, and for consistency and to save you in the late game. 2 Gilly to Rise, he's a finisher. I only run 2 of because he's really expensive. He's $26 right now, and his skill is activate Vanguard circle once per turn. Choose a face down card. Choose a face down card named Abominable 1 Gilly to Rise, and turn it face up. If the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, this unit gets plus 10k. Then, if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, until the end of the turn, this unit gets auto Vanguard circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, to the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from hand to guard. if the number of face-up cards in your G zone is 2 or more, this unit gets plus a crit. So this is pretty much your killer. You wait for your opponent to just try to kill you or not think that you have a guard restriction card, and then you play that, hit him for 3 crit in 1 turn if you hate critical triggers. Now, this is just tech right now. I'm trying to get the SGR, the grade 4 Scarrat, 1 Steeped in Sin, which would be this guy, because he is hands down the card that this deck needed. And his skill is Darkness, GB2. When his unit attacks and you pay the cost, I'm pretty sure it's, or you put all your rear guards into your soul. Then if the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, I believe you retire all of your opponent's rear guards, and then if it's 15 or more, your opponent can't perfect guard it. So it's a board wipe, and yeah, can't perfect guard it. But this guy, his skill is, I only won 3 of them just because I use it to maintain the soul while Sullivan's on the Vanguard circle, because I can continuously guard for 10k over and over. My opponent can't hit me. When this unit attacks Darkness, auto Vanguard circle, Darkness. This ability is active if you put cards in your soul during this turn. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may soul charge 2. So you may, it doesn't even, you don't, there's no requisite for soul charging 2. Just as soon as you attack, soul charge 2. If the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, this unit gets auto. When it hits, your opponent chooses one of the rear guards and retires it. Then if the soul was 15 or more, this unit gets plus 1k for every card in your soul. So if you're at 15 in the soul, this card gets plus 15k automatic. So again, run 3 of him, just pressure and, you know, just some tech. Not many decks in Vanguard have tech like that where you can run them or you don't have to run them. Same goes with Kiss Kill. When it hits, you soul charge 2 and then you draw a card if the number of cards in the soul is 6 or more, and that's not only if it hits. You can just attack. If it doesn't hit, okay, and then soul charge or draw a card. 1 of the bat, when you call her to guard, if you soul charge 2, she gets plus 5k. Combo that with Bladewick Sullivan, and you're guarding for 30k. 2 of her, because she's very, very good, and then 2 of Saint Germain, because Saint Germain's skill is when this unit is placed on guard, if the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, this gets plus 10k. And until the end of that battle, if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, you can choose any number of your units until the end of the turn. They get continuous Vanguard circle, rear guard, and guard resist. So it's a resist all for everything on your board. And that's good when you're playing against Kagro, because, you know, if you have a field or you have something you want to keep, you get to keep it. So the playstyle of this deck is pretty much just want to stall out your opponent as long as you can and build your soul. Then once you hit 15, hit him with Gilly DeRai and try to win. So it's a defensive play style. You can't really be too offensive early. This deck is very weak to rush early game. Like if they grade 2 rush you and they get a restand trigger, you're not gonna have a fun time. But once you get set up, and if you can maintain your hand advantage the entire game and you get Sullivan early, I know if anyone's watched my previous videos, like I beat Grand Blue hands down with this deck, and he just couldn't do anything. Because once you start guarding for 10k, or once you hit for 3k in 1 turn, or 3 crit, like your opponent can't really do much. And Vanguard, you know, extra critical is everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope the deck profile helps out anyone who's trying to play this deck. It's a lot of fun. It is a stall deck, so it takes a little while to get set up. You have to, you know, at least make it through 2 strides to play the deck. It's a lot of fun. I love the deck, and I hope this deck profile helps you guys out. If you want to play it, play it. It's fun. It's challenging. The win condition is challenging because it requires a lot of setup. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon with my Gurgwit updated deck profile for the new set. Later.